Thank you, everyone. Thank you to Tim for a great session just now, which I enjoyed very much and will give us lots of final food for thought. So we have one more presentation of the day, and it's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker, Yanru Xu. Yanru, I hope you're ready. I'll read your introduction. Yanru is a research associate on the WEWD project, my friend and colleague here in Cambridge, and she's focusing on comparative studies of the visual features of early writing systems such as Chinese and Egyptian scripts, as well as underrepresented minority scripts in Southwest China. And she's going to speak to us today about Dongba.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very glad to be here with you all today. Now I would like to talk about a very special writing system known as the Dongba script of the Nash people in Southwest China. Let me begin with a brief background. In addition to the Chinese scripts, the writing practices of Chinese ethnic minorities are rich and complicated. Traditionally, they can be divided primarily into 4 types. The first type is tentatively referred to as pictographic scripts. They are made use of signs with strong visual properties, which function as mnemonic aids, such as the Shaba symbols of the Ersu people. The second type is semantophonetic scripts. Characters function as both semantic and phonetic signs, such as the Shui script. The third type is syllabic scripts. Each character represents a single syllable, such as the woman script. The last type is alphabetic scripts. For example, the Polat Miao script. This is the most numerous type among them. Pictographic scripts of Chinese ethnic minorities, such as Shamanic, Duoxi, Shaba, and Poya songbook, are distinguished by their strong pictorial features. Such mnemonic aids didn't record language word by word. Instead, their main function was to aid memory. Only a limited number of signs and writing materials have been documented. These signs are endangered and underrepresented compared to Chinese scripts and other developed writing systems. Dongba script is often described as one of the pictographic writing systems still in use today. However, this description immediately raises an important question. Is Dongba script truly a form of writing in the strict sense? Or is it closer to a system of images functioning as memory aids? My aim today is to explore how Dongba script operates between image and writing. By focusing on its pictorial features, I hope to show that Dongba script challenges some of our basic assumptions about what writing is and how it functions. The Nash people, with a population of over 320,000, live in the region at the border of Yunnan, Sichuan, and Xizang. As shown by the small green area right here on this map, when we zoom in, you can see this region is presented on the left. About 90% of the Nash people lives in Yunnan province, meaning in the Lijiang area right here. These are traditional Nashi ethnic costumes, including these worn by bride and groom, young women, and older women. You can see here. The 3 photos were taken at my friend's wedding 2 years ago. Both the bride and the groom are my classmates. We all complete our MA at Southwest University in Chongqing under the supervision of a same supervisor, Professor Deng Zhangyin. However, from its early stages up to the present, the Dongba scripts was not widely used. by the large people. It was primarily mastered and used by ritual specialists known as the Dongba. It was used in a range of contexts, including religious and sacrificial rituals related to the sky and ancestors, as well as wedding and funeral events. Dongba priests are not full-time professionals. In everyday life, they live much like other members of the community. In terms of writing materials and tools, Dongba ritual manuscripts are handwritten, just mentioned by Tim, often on handmade paper. This kind of plant is the raw material for making Dongba paper. It is said to be poisonous and can prevent the Dongba scriptures from insects. Its bark is peeled and boiled into pulp, which is then left to settle in a wooden tank, and then dried on the board. To write Dongba scriptures, Dongba paper is cut to approximately 30 centimeters long and 10 meters wide. Bamboo pens are typically used for writing, and the pages are then bound on the left side into a manuscript by this tool. Dongba texts are primarily ritual manuscripts, as shown here. The ones stored in the Vienna World Museum are colored. In the Dongba religious tradition, there are around 50 different rituals, each requiring a unique scripture. About 1,000 kinds of scriptures exist in total, and so far, around 26,000 copies are preserved in collections both in China and abroad. Their primary purpose was to support priests in conducting rituals, rather than functioning as an independent reading material. In addition to writing ritual texts, Dongba script was also used by Dongba priests for practical documents, such as account books, letters, receipts, and couplets or scrolls, whatever you call, or even notes on the wall in the Amin cave in Baidi. These practical texts can often record the language word by word. Today, we see many instances of Dongba script being used in daily life, often by people who are not Dongba themselves. In commercial area, in Lijiang, many shops and bars have names written in Dongba scripts, like the one Star Bar mentioned by Tim. The second photo shows a card written by my friend He Genmao, offering me a blessings and thanks after their wedding. If you notice, he even used a message with the English word to Yanru, something like that, and use an ordinary pen. The third photo shows that tuition tablets sold in Lijiang often have Dongba script on one side and Chinese writing on the other, normally written by tourists. Now I would like to focus on the pictorial characteristics of the Dongba script, especially on ritual manuscripts. Most Dongba characters show striking features of pictoriality and iconicity. They visually resemble what they represent, such as humans, animals, plants, tools, and natural phenomena. For example, a character depicting a ruler, official, or Dongba. The distinguishing pictorial features are the decorations on their heads and their sitting positions to indicate their social status. In addition, a sign's meaning can be conveyed through abstraction or symbolic association. For example, the dark color indicates a negative meaning, or just emphasize on an abstract and somewhat negative meaning. These pictorial signs are not merely drawings. They are used repeatedly and conventionally, which gives them a comparative stable usage within the system. Dongba scripts on ritual manuscripts relies heavily on visual themes. For example, here on the first page of the ritual manuscripts, The Origin of Grimm, it was written from left to right and from top to bottom. Each box or block includes at least one sentence or phrase. In the first box, the first sign reads, "In ancient times." Pictorially, it's a tiger, and but it could be read as 5 syllables, like Alamasadi, but this tiger read as La, only record the second syllable of this phrase, but it's like a traditional, conventional writing at the beginning of the manuscript. We can see here is a sky, sign for sky. And this sign actually is a Gerba script. Gerba scripts also used by Dongba, but we won't talk about it today. It's like syllabic writing system. And this is like for syllabic sign together with this sky, they read as spring. And this is number 10. This one, another one is together 12. And this is moon, means month. So it's the 12th month. So the first block tells us the time information. In the second block, we can see this is the bean and the pine tree. So if we only read the image, those are only 2 information we can get. But Dongba will read as beans buzzed in trees or in forests. So we can see with buzzed this meaning or words were recorded. If you notice, there is a stroke. What I call this compares to the Nahuatl script. They call speech scroll, but it's just a stroke. So this stroke is abstract sign indicating the sound. So those 2 signs together gave us a pictorial scenery. Beans buzzed in trees in forest. This is cuckoos, again with this sound sign. This is stone. The cuckoos crying among stones. This is a bowl with some greens, but upside down to show meaning no food. Because no food, this cuckoo is calling for food. In the third box, we see a pantry again. And here is a sign for hill, not mountain. Mountains like this one, but here is like a hill, a pantry on the top of it. And we see a kind of animal called majat, looks similar to deer. And this is 4 limbs here to emphasize on the movement and with the sound marks to show this majat is moving around and crying in the forest. We also see this sign pictorially. It's not a rope, but here was borrowed as a phonogram to record the meaning white. So it's like a phonograms. This is a white majat. Here the sign for hill, this one I marked in green, is quite special. Although the symbol for hill is not strictly necessary in this context, the Dongba priest may still choose to include it in order to supplement the theme and to provide additional visual information for this scenario. For this perspective, it can be tentatively described as a form of a pictorial supplement. If we instead approach the function of the hill symbol from an linguistic perspective, it may be understood as a semantic complement, corresponding to the concept of phonetic complement. Instead of encoding language in a strictly word-by-word sequence, such text often presents a series of pictorial signs, meaning emerges through the pictorial scenes as a whole, rather than from precise grammatical encoding. In this sense, reading a Dongba ritual manuscript is closer to interpreting a visual storytelling than decoding a line of text. In other words, the Dongba scripts on ritual manuscripts shows a strong dependence on oral performance. The written signs do not correspond to words one by one. The pictorial sign guide memory and performance, rather than fully transcribing spoken language. At this point, we can ask the question, where does Dongba scripts stand between image and writing? If we compare it with fully developed writing systems, such as Chinese characters or alphabetic scripts, Dongba scripts lacks several key features to be identified as a developed writing system. Its signs do not correspond to spoken language word by word, and more symbols are difficult to be divided as a single unit. At the same time, Dongba script is not only simply a collection of images. The signs are conventionalized, reused across manuscripts, and embedded in a cultural system of meaning. This distinguished from spontaneous drawing or purely illustrative images. According to the examples mentioned above, Dongba scripts on ritual manuscripts represents a complex mixture of image-based and language-based systems. On the one hand, signs can function as logograms, phonograms, classifiers, and even phonetic complements. On the other hand, the pictorial value of the sign itself and the pictorial scenes as a whole both play an essential role in supporting oral performance. Such system invites us to rethink writing, not as a single evolutionary endpoint, but as a spectrum of writing practices ranging from image-based to language-based systems. To conclude, the importance of Dongba script to write ritual texts doesn't lie in whether it meets modern criteria of writing. Its value lies in its unique position between image and text. By preserving strong pictorial features, Dongba script integrates its visual properties, memory, and oral performance together. In addition, the Dongba script, when used by Dongba priests for practical texts and its other uses in daily life together, constitute an almost developed writing system. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Yanru. This has been wonderful. And I know people will have enjoyed really understanding how the system works and how we describe it. So we have a few minutes left for questions. So if anyone has a question, please either write in the chat or raise your hand, make yourself known to us somehow. And then we'll have a few minutes before we go on to our final session of the day, which I will introduce in a moment. So do we have any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
It is very interesting. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. And it's mainly like, has it have been changing through the scripts? Because it seems like pictures respond a lot to meaning. Like there's like all the symbols represented a sort of meaning. So have there been changes in the meaning of those symbols used in the script? for example, like the birds and stones together meant something that was like going hungry, as you mentioned. So is there been changes in the script because of the meaning? I don't know if it's too clear there.
For a script, for like a symbol in a text, like if we see the symbol, they normally will write in the more or less the same size on the manuscripts. They won't change the size like images. So this is conventionalized. And the meaning, I guess it depends on the pictorial theme, what I called. It's like, it depends on how Dongba interpreted when they enchanting the text, when they use the text. If you notice in some of the photos I presented, like when Dongba do the ritual ceremonies, they will have the manuscript in front of them. They will sort of read it when they enchanting, and I don't think they will read them the same every time. More or less will be a little bit change.
Yeah, so it's like an interpretation always of what it means, and that's what I meant.
But if you consider them from the linguistic perspective as a linguistic unit, the meaning more or less like as to study them, we prefer to give them a stable meaning, so it won't have other inconvenient interpretation, because it will cause a lot of problem. If the meaning changed, how you define the meaning of this sign, that is a big issue. But we do have some sign have different meaning. Let's say fire, give you a picture of fire, and could be also mean red. Give you a sign of a gold, also means yellow.
Ah, interesting. Yeah.
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah.
Thank you. Jade also has her hand up. Jade, go ahead.
Thank you, Yanru. I really appreciate your presentation, and it's very clear and about that give us a kind of whole image of Dongba script. And just want to say something about the difference between how to say image and the writing for Dongba script.
Yes, please.
As you know that I have co-produced a Dongba MOOC initiation for Dongba script.
Yeah, I watched your
yes, okay,
recorded.
Yeah, thank you. And in this in an interview with Professor Yu Suisheng, the specialist of Dongba script in China, and we asked the same question. And from his point of view, he said that Dongba script can be best for him considered as a hybrid script, because on one hand, it is an ideographic script with the particularity that Dongba is with a heritage of phrasal script in transition to phonographic script. And on the other hand, the specificity of particular segment can highlight the nature of particular stage of development and can be analyzed in a specific way. And as you have shown just now in this in one page of the script. So I think there
it's sort of
things to do about that.
Things for now in the academic world. Like when I was a MA student, I also took the course in Professor Yu Suisheng, and because he and also Professor Yang Yihua taught us Dongba script. So sort of discussion, like there's a lot of amount of discussion on the very nature of this symbol or writing system. But for now, most of us agree it's like a hybrid, mixed writing system.
Okay.
Let's say two-dimension features.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. I wish we could have a chance to talk about this.
Yeah, we will, I think. Thank you.
Keep in touch.
Thank you so much. So I think we've come to the end of this session. Thank you so much, Yanru, for sharing your research with us and sharing the Dongba script with us. This is really wonderful. And I have lots of thoughts about writing system types and things, but we will talk about those another time. We are now going on to the final session of the day. Dare I say it, we'll probably have a break of a couple of minutes just to make the transition. So please hold on for a few minutes. And when we come back, we will be talking about where writing is going, which is a question I know we all want to answer now.